Stop. Before you do anything else, stay here for the next few moments, because what you are about to hear is not an ordinary story. It is not a prediction. It is not a coincidence. It is a journey about fear, courage, faith, and the moment darkness realizes it has already begun to lose. There is an ancient saying that whenever light begins to rise, darkness becomes restless. Imagine this. A person spends years trying to build hope, peace, confidence, and joy. Then little by little, everything starts falling apart. Doors close without explanation. Opportunities disappear at the last second. Relationships become confusing. Your confidence fades. Every time something good seems close, it slips away. Many people call it bad luck. Others call it coincidence. But today we are going to tell a symbolic story about what happens when fear tries to convince someone that they were never meant to receive their blessings. And in this story, Michael appears. Not to create panic. Not to spread fear. But to remind one weary soul that darkness has never been stronger than light. The story begins on an ordinary evening. Nothing unusual. No thunder. No strange sounds. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels heavier than normal. A person sits alone, staring at a screen, wondering why life feels so different than it once did. Dreams delayed. Prayers unanswered. Strength running low. Then, in the story, a voice says, "Do not confuse delay with defeat." Those words seem simple. But they change everything. Because for the first time, the person realizes something important. Fear has been speaking louder than hope. And when fear becomes the loudest voice in life, it begins stealing things that never truly belonged to it. It steals confidence. It steals peace. It steals sleep. It steals courage. It even steals the expectation that tomorrow can become better than today. But then Michael speaks again. Nothing that heaven has prepared for you can be permanently stolen. Think about that. How many times have people believed they were too late? Too broken. Too forgotten. Too damaged. Yet history is filled with stories where everything changed in a single unexpected moment. That is the mystery of hope. It arrives quietly. The story continues. The darkness begins whispering. It wants the traveler to stop listening. It wants distraction. It wants doubt. It wants impatience. Because doubt grows fastest when people stop believing anything good can happen. Michael watches without fear. His message is calm. The greatest weapon against darkness is not panic. It is unwavering faith. Suddenly the traveler begins remembering every victory they had forgotten. Every obstacle they once survived. Every impossible situation that somehow worked out. Every sunrise after the darkest nights. And something remarkable begins happening. The fear that once looked enormous begins looking smaller. Not because the world changed. Because perspective changed. The story says that darkness trembles whenever someone remembers who they truly are. Not because of magic. But because courage cannot be controlled once it awakens. Michael continues. You believed your kindness was weakness. It was strength. You believed your patience was failure. It was preparation. You believed your silence meant heaven forgot you. It meant heaven was building something beyond what you could see. The traveler begins walking again. Not running. Not hiding. Walking. Steadily. Confidently. Every step weakens despair. Every prayer strengthens peace. Every act of forgiveness breaks another invisible chain. The darkness grows louder. It tries one final trick. It reminds the traveler of every mistake. Every regret. Every embarrassing memory. Every painful chapter. Michael interrupts. The past can explain you. It cannot imprison you. That sentence echoes through the entire story. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Every stone represents guilt, fear, failure, disappointment. Now imagine discovering you were never meant to carry it forever. One by one, the traveler puts the stones down. Not because life suddenly becomes easy. Because hope becomes heavier than fear. Then comes the turning point. The traveler looks back. The road behind them is filled with places where they thought everything was over. Yet they survived every single one. They realize something extraordinary. The greatest miracle was not waiting at the destination. The greatest miracle was becoming stronger during the journey. Michael smiles. The blessings prepared for you were never destroyed. Some were delayed. Some were redirected. Some were protecting you from paths that looked beautiful but ended in disaster. The traveler finally understands. Sometimes unanswered prayers become answered protection. Sometimes closed doors become hidden rescue. Sometimes waiting becomes wisdom. The darkness realizes it is losing its greatest weapon. Hopelessness. Because once someone truly believes tomorrow can improve, fear loses its throne. The story becomes brighter. Morning arrives. The same world exists. The same streets. The same responsibilities. But the traveler is different. Their eyes carry peace. Their heart carries courage. Their steps carry purpose. Michael gives one final message. Do not spend your future chasing every shadow behind you. Walk toward the light ahead of you. That single decision changes everything. New opportunities appear. Unexpected friendships form. Old wounds begin healing. Confidence returns. Joy slowly rebuilds itself. Not overnight. But steadily. Because genuine transformation often happens quietly before the world notices it loudly. The storyteller closes with these words. Every life faces moments where fear whispers that everything has been stolen forever. But faith whispers something stronger. What belongs to your purpose will find its way back. Hold on to courage. Protect your peace. Speak kindness. Choose hope even when it feels difficult. Because darkness cannot remain where light is continually welcomed. And perhaps the greatest victory was never about defeating fear. Perhaps it was discovering that fear never had the final word. The final word has always belonged to hope. And that hope keeps walking forward, one faithful step at a time, toward miracles that were never truly lost. Morning breaks, but something has changed. Not outside. Inside. The traveler can feel it before they even open their eyes. The heaviness that once greeted every sunrise has begun to lift. The questions are still there. The responsibilities have not disappeared. The world has not suddenly become perfect. But there is a quiet confidence growing where fear once lived. Michael speaks again. Darkness is never defeated by shouting at it. It is defeated by refusing to surrender your light. The traveler remembers every moment they almost gave up. Every prayer they whispered through tears. Every night they believed no one was listening. And then another realization arrives. Not one of those prayers was wasted. Some became strength. Some became wisdom. Some became protection from things they never even knew were coming. The story now shifts to a hidden place. Not a physical place. A battlefield inside the human heart. This is where hope and despair have always met. This is where every decision begins long before it appears in the outside world. Michael points toward two doors. One is called fear. The other is called faith. Both doors are unlocked. Every day, every person chooses which one to walk through. The traveler asks, "How do I know which door I have been choosing?" Michael answers, "Look at what grows inside you. If bitterness grows, you have been feeding fear. If peace grows, you have been feeding faith." The traveler falls silent. Because for the first time, they understand that every thought they repeated became a seed. Every word they believed became a direction. Every choice shaped tomorrow before tomorrow arrived. Then Michael says something unexpected. There were moments when darkness celebrated too early. The traveler looks confused. Michael continues. Every setback convinced fear that you would never rise again. But heaven saw every setback becoming preparation. Imagine a sculptor holding a rough stone. To everyone else, it looks broken. Worthless. Ordinary. But the sculptor already sees the masterpiece hidden inside. The stone must be shaped before anyone else recognizes its beauty. Life often works the same way. The hardest seasons are sometimes the chisel preparing the masterpiece. The traveler begins remembering old disappointments. The job that disappeared. The friendship that ended. The opportunity that slipped away. The relationship that broke their heart. Each memory once looked like proof that life was against them. Now each memory begins looking different. Each one redirected them. Each one taught them. Each one protected them from becoming someone they were never meant to become. Michael smiles. You called them losses. Heaven called them lessons. Suddenly the wind begins moving through the trees. The traveler notices something beautiful. The strongest trees are not the ones that never faced storms. They are the ones whose roots learn to hold firmly beneath the surface. Strength grows where no one can see it first. Faith works the same way. The deepest victories begin invisibly. Darkness hates invisible victories. Because it cannot measure them. It cannot predict them. It cannot stop them. Then another message comes. The greatest miracle is not receiving everything you ask for. The greatest miracle is becoming the kind of person who can wisely carry what you receive. Those words echo again and again. How many blessings have people wished for before they were ready to manage them? How many dreams required patience before they could become permanent? The traveler realizes waiting was never punishment. Waiting was preparation. Michael raises his hand. A light spreads across the horizon. Not blinding. Comforting. The traveler feels every anxious thought becoming quieter. Every fearful memory losing its power. Every accusation becoming smaller. Darkness makes one final attempt. It whispers, "You are too late." Michael answers immediately. There is no such thing as too late when purpose still breathes. The traveler takes another step. Then another. Each step feels lighter. Not because the road becomes shorter. Because unnecessary burdens have been left behind. Now the story reveals another secret. Many people spend their lives looking for signs. Yet they ignore the greatest sign already placed within them. The ability to choose hope. Every single morning. Every single setback. Every single disappointment. Hope is not pretending pain never existed. Hope is deciding pain will not become your identity. Michael says, "You survived things you once believed would destroy you. Never forget that." Those words awaken forgotten courage. The traveler begins seeing evidence everywhere. The sunrise that never failed to return. The rivers that continued flowing around every obstacle. The tiny seed that pushed through heavy soil simply because life refused to stop growing. Creation itself whispers the same lesson. Keep growing. Keep believing. Keep walking. Then Michael tells the traveler something they will remember forever. Your greatest victories will confuse those who only witnessed your struggles. Because people often see the breakthrough. They rarely see the perseverance that created it. The story now enters its quietest moment. No dramatic music. No thunder. No spectacle. Only stillness. And inside that stillness, the traveler hears their own heartbeat. Steady. Calm. Alive. Michael says, "As long as your heart still carries hope, your story is still being written." The traveler smiles for the first time in a long while. Not because every answer has arrived, but because they no longer need every answer to keep moving forward. That is what freedom feels like. The chains were never only around the circumstances. Many were wrapped around fear itself. Now those chains have fallen. The road ahead remains unknown. But unknown no longer means frightening. It means possibility. It means opportunity. It means another chapter waiting to unfold. And somewhere beyond the next horizon, blessings that seem delayed begin quietly making their way toward the traveler, one faithful step, one courageous choice, and one hopeful sunrise at a time. The traveler continues forward, but this time the silence feels different. It is no longer the silence of loneliness. It is the silence that comes before a breakthrough. Michael looks toward the horizon and says, "There are moments when heaven works most powerfully where human eyes cannot see." The traveler pauses. They have spent so much of their life searching for visible signs that they almost forgot the unseen work that happens beneath the surface. A seed buried in the ground looks lifeless. Yet beneath the soil, roots are spreading. Strength is forming. Life is preparing for the right season. Faith often grows the same way. Long before anyone notices a miracle, something has already begun to change. Michael continues. Do not measure your progress only by what has appeared. Measure it by who you are becoming. Those words settle deeply. The traveler realizes that months ago, they would have reacted to every setback with panic. Now they respond with patience. Months ago, they would have believed every fearful thought. Now they question it before accepting it. Months ago, they would have called themselves defeated. Now they simply call themselves unfinished. That single change transforms everything. Darkness notices it too. Because fear loses power when people stop believing every lie it whispers. The story now shifts to a mountain path. It is steep. The climb is exhausting. More than once, the traveler wonders whether turning back would be easier. Michael does not pull them upward. Instead, he walks beside them. There is a reason the climb feels difficult, he says. The view waiting ahead cannot be reached by standing still. The traveler takes another step. Then another. Each step feels small. Almost insignificant. Yet when they look behind them, they realize how far they have already come. That is the strange truth about perseverance. Progress often feels invisible while it is happening. Only later do we recognize the distance we have traveled. As the path narrows, strange echoes begin filling the air. Voices from the past. You are not enough. You always fail. Nothing will ever change. The traveler lowers their head. For a moment, the old fear returns. Michael gently says, "Listen carefully." The traveler becomes still. The echoes slowly fade. They are only echoes, Michael explains. They are not your future. The traveler finally understands. Old fears often repeat themselves, hoping repetition will be mistaken for truth. But repetition never creates reality. Truth remains truth, even when whispered quietly. The climb continues. Clouds gather around the mountain. Visibility becomes poor. The traveler grows anxious. I cannot see where this road leads. Michael smiles. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need enough light for the next step. The traveler remembers how many times life unfolded exactly that way. Rarely were all the answers revealed at once. Instead, each step uncovered the next. Faith was never about seeing the destination. It was about trusting the direction. Suddenly the clouds begin breaking apart. Golden light pours across the mountains. The traveler reaches a place they never believed possible. From here, every valley they once feared looks smaller. Every obstacle appears temporary. Perspective changes everything. Michael points toward the valleys below. Those places once convinced you that your journey had ended. But they were only places you passed through. The traveler smiles. How many painful seasons had they mistaken for permanent realities? How many difficult chapters had they called the entire story? Now they understand. A chapter is never the whole book. The story continues. Far below, other travelers are still climbing. Some are discouraged. Some are ready to quit. The traveler wants to help them. Michael nods. This is why healing matters. People who have found hope become living reminders that hope is possible. The traveler begins encouraging others. Not with perfect speeches. Not with impossible promises. Simply by saying, I have walked through dark valleys too. And I kept walking. Those simple words carry incredible power. Because genuine encouragement comes from experience, not perfection. As evening approaches, the sky fills with stars. The traveler looks upward. Each star shines quietly. None compete with the others. Together they illuminate the night. Michael says, light never wastes energy arguing with darkness. It simply shines. The traveler reflects on those words. How often had they spent precious energy fighting every negative voice instead of strengthening the positive one? Peace grows where attention goes. Hope grows where gratitude lives. The stars continue shining. Michael gives one final lesson before the next part of the journey begins. There will always be people who misunderstand your path. There will always be moments when progress feels slow. There will always be seasons that test your patience. But remember this. No storm has ever convinced the sunrise not to come. The night may seem long. It is never forever. The traveler closes their eyes. For the first time in years, they are not asking when everything will become easy. They are simply grateful they found the courage to keep walking. And somewhere beyond the next mountain, beyond what the eye can currently see, another chapter of hope is already waiting to unfold. The journey is far from over. In many ways, it has only just begun.